for some peace of mind. But TikTok said a gator drove a Jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat. And someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line. And Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. I'm just sitting here scrolling my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's wildin', there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Yeah, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave. I'm just...
Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, and boy, is it Monday. I don't want to alarm you, but it is snowing and freezing raining where I am in Indiana. So I don't know where you guys are, but if you are in any of the areas where the weather has gone crazy, do be sure that you're keeping yourself updated on, weather conditions either through your local weather person or Ryan Hall or Max Velocity, whomever you use. Uh, just make sure. There are a lot of hills in my area. I don't feel comfortable, so I will probably be letting the two feral youngest children stay home today because, yeah. So I will say that, if you are in any of the areas that are experiencing Mother Nature going through schizophrenia, do keep an eye on your local weather because, there you go. So I hope you all have your bread, eggs, and milk for either your snow warning or y'all, holy fazoli's. I take one weekend off and headlines galore. Now, as I always tell you guys with breaking and political events, I will give you guys the headlines. I am not smart enough, nor do I have the knowledge base to give you a hot take on these particular events as of yet. What I do want to remind you guys of is that, as with anything, and in the literal definition of fog of war, take each and every one of these headlines with a grain of salt until they are verified. And if you want more ideas or more information about these than I'm going to give you, go to creators that you trust and, things like that. I am not smart enough to tell you what this is going to do. What I will tell you is that due to my own kind of political nerdiness, whether or not this leads to regime change, there are basic resource issues that Iran will still face, regardless of at the end of this, kerfuffle, they end up with a new regime. There are legitimate drought and water deficiency issues going on in Iran that will still be there regardless of what's going on. So, what I will tell you is that beyond that kind of basic knowledge, I don't have much more to add to the headline, but I will give you guys the headlines. And, I would say go to different sides, look at ground news if you have a subscription to see what both sides politically think about this. Because, both sides tend to have a story, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. Generally, sometimes, is how I approach these big things. Now, the US and Israel have attacked Iran. This was big news all weekend. Even Mr. Mo was kind of okay with my news junkie obsession. Uh, there has been, allegations that Kuwait mistakenly shot down 3 US jets, but all crews were safely able to eject, according to the military. So again, do do be cautious of headlines. Now, the military did confirm that 3 US F-15s were involved in an attack on or that were involved in the attack in Iran were or shot down by Kuwait air defenses in a case of friendly fire. Oh, I am so sorry, Jason. Sorry, sorry. Well, there you go. Now, I will give you one hot take. Now, if you're maybe more conservatarian, libertarian, look, I don't know where I fall on the political spectra as I call myself a Lewis Blackian. I think Democrats suck and Republicans blow, and most politicians are self-serving. So again, I am not sure where that puts me in the political spectra, but if I could have any hot take today on a political issue. I love Rita Panahi. I love Australian news. Now, I believe a Sky News Australia would be considered more of a conservatarian news source. So again, while I don't generally politically affiliate, if you like hearing someone say, well, again, this has caused a bit of a kerfuffle in Australia, but a TV host from Australia called Rita Panahi explodes at Iran's Khamenei, sorry, in a foul-mouthed, rebuke on air. Allegedly, she said, "Burn in hell, you son of a B word." Now, this is what I love about British and Australian news. Now, yes, they involve people and policies that I in no way can consider or influence, but there is 100% more likelihood of hearing a C word being dropped or hearing someone being called a bellend that makes Australian and UK news my favorite thing to watch. I'm just saying, there are there's 100% more likelihood that you will hear, English, phraseology that might indicate that your parents were not only first cousins, but maybe brothers and sisters based on the stupidity of your last statement, and the nerd in me just nerds out on that. I don't know, look, I think I might be the only American, like, total nerd mo-fession that watches, prime PMQs, prime minister's questions, like it's my job. Like, I know more about Kimmy Badenoch and, Keir Starmer than I know about American politics. Not gonna lie, American politics bores me. Uh, UK politics, for some reason, look, I don't know why it makes my nerdy heart happy, but it just does. I like the cheering, I like the shouting, I like everything. So there you go. You guys have learned Mr. Mo is subjected to GB News and Australian Sky News. Uh, just well, Sky News is yeah, that's why I love it. Look, there is not a chance that in the American Parliament or, well, American Congress, I'm gonna hear someone, and the cheering and the hooting. I love Canadian politics for the same reason. Hell, I love African politics for the same reason. I am a political nerd. Like, it is not uncommon that Mr. Mo will be subjected to we're going full. Sorry, you guys. Side note slash, here we go, let me put up the little chyron to explain. Now, in full, transparency, we are having really, really cold rain, and my body does not like that. So if I'm a bit squirrelier this week, not in a, you know, not in a feel sorry for me way or a sympathy way. But if I do appear a little more squirrely, um, it's not that I forgot to take my ADHD medications. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. That's just it. So I did wanna let you guys know. So that would be the thing, but yes, I am a political nerd, and so if I would do any hot take, if you like hearing someone, maybe be a little mean to well, the here's the problem that and look, I'm not an expert, but I have done enough research on Iran to know I'm not an expert, but the problem with any negotiations that were taking place is Iran's historically and, well, until just recently, Iran's government was a very odd kind of four-headed beast. You had the theocratic head, the Ayatollah, you then had a president, you had the military, and then you had the Iranian, guard. So any negotiations would have to be done in four parts, and usually you could never get the four parts to agree. So that's one of the issues. The other issue is that the theocratic government has not been very forward thinking in their use of where the very limited resource of water in Iran. And unfortunately, that does mean that that is going to be a continuing problem. And the governments that are now engaged in this act of, let's just say, aggressive regime change, for lack of a better term, just because if you explodorate the regime, then you do in passively or aggressively involve another regime to come in. Now, that being said, that is for the Iranian people to decide, but there are still going to be fundamental and very big issues. Not only economically are the Iranian citizens used to living on giant government subsidies, but they're dealing with a lot of the issues that a lot of the Western and socialist, the Zoomer revolutions are are a possibility as well. These are, young people who do not see a future in the current government strata. These problems are not gonna go away just because you change the regime. So I want the Iranian, the Persian people to be free. I want them to be the stewards of their own future. But I do think that it is a bit pie in the sky to think that just because a regime change is going to happen means that human nature is fundamentally going to change. That being said, I really hope that peace will happen for the Iranian people, that they will be the stewards and the guardians of their own future, their own destiny, with help if they need it and ask for it. But do I and this is where I revert to Louis Blackian. Do I have any optimism that any government involved is going to be forward thinking and deal with the complexities? Absolutely not. So, while I hope for the best, I do foresee that there are going to be major issues regardless of the outcome of this particular what are we calling this? Operation whatever, because it can't be a war because Congress hasn't decided anything since Viet fucking Nam? Sorry, my bad. But I am so tired of this. Like, Eh, for the love of Cheetos, look, y'all, Mo's gonna get a little ranty. And normally I don't get political. Again, as I say, I think both sides suck. But could we, for the love of Cheetos, both sides, how about we put down our little high horse about, well, we never agreed for this to be a war. We didn't vote for it. Republicans, Democrats, neither of you vote for a conflict if the other side's in office. Bite me. The only person that consistently votes for conflict are Lindsey Graham and, well, former, John McCain. How about you stop fighting wars and using my kids, my husband, and my family members, in these operations since you can't get your fingers out your butts or whatever the hell you're snorting. and, decide to declare anything a flippin' flapjack war. How about that happen? How about the moment your kids are in the front line first when you declare war, maybe it would make sense for you. Maybe you wouldn't send operations all the time. But how about if your kids aren't on the front line, if your kids aren't gonna be sent, if this isn't gonna affect you other than you're gonna get a lot of sweet contracts with your defense, friends and others, you sit the hell down, you shut the hell up, and you let the service members do what they're gonna do, and you stop whining on CNN with Wolf Blitzer. How about that? Because 'Cause you're kind of fucking annoying, Congress. How about you do one fucking thing? How about you do that? Instead of vote raises for yourself and vote, to sweep all of your issues under the rug. How about we get those Epstein files and we start, arresting people? How about we do any of that? But, sit down and shut the hell up when you talk about, well, this current administration isn't listening to Congress. Congress is less popular than, like, gonorrhea fasciitis. I honestly believe that One Direction coming back together is more of a possibility than Congress being popular or fit for purpose in my lifetime. So how about, again, you sit the hell down and shut the hell up and just be glad that unlike, A Bug's Life, all of the ants haven't figured out there's a lot more of us than there are of you. And if we ever decided that, the citizens would rise up and clean house. So maybe be glad that we are all just too busy dealing with the misery you cause because you have no clue about real life. And sit the hell down, shut the hell up before I replace Congress with puppies and penguins on my first day in president. Sorry, I don't know. And Regimo. Sorry, you guys. That was a bit of an out of body experience. As I said, just because I don't speak about politics doesn't mean I don't have political thoughts. I just don't think that they're, generally, do I think that I have an opinion, you have an opinion. Do I think it's my opinion is any more opiniony than your opinion? No. So generally, I don't feel like proselytizing my opinion. But there you go. Those are some of my opinions. Uh that I just For the love of God, governments, start listening to your citizens before you become obsolete. We are going through a change, a zeitgeist. The normals have changed. The dichotomy of the neoconservative and neoliberal is over. We have moved to populism. Now, whether you like that or not is not going to be functionally relevant in several years. So you need to decide whether you can either let go of power, you boomers who don't seem to be able to, or you become irrelevant. And I speak as someone who looks at not only the UK government, but the German government, the Polish government. I look at EU stuff. I look at Australia. There is a change coming. The government should be of the people and for the people, and the people are realizing in every country that the governments now are very small slices of the elites who never have to deal with the problems that their policies cause. And because of the swiftness and the kind of ignorance that the elites have used, this sort of absolute denigration and just arrogance of the everyday person being a rube that simply doesn't know better. Look, my political ideas might not be the same as yours, but I don't go in thinking that because you think differently than me, you are absolutely a moron rube who doesn't understand things. No, I don't look at someone from a different political standpoint and think that they don't know what Jonathan Swift means. I don't think that they're morally bankrupt or corrupt, but that seems to be a problem. We seem to have not be we can't hold 2 things to be true at once. That someone may disagree with you, but they might have, good morals. They might be morally good. I don't know if we've lost critical thinking, if we've lost nuance, but good lord, I am trying to bring it back. I don't care what you think. I don't care how you think. I just ask that you do think and you don't put moral judgments on stuff. That's why, for the love of Cheetos. Anywho, if you thought I was ranty before, welcome to Mo Rants, Ragey Monday. In a rare thing, because unfortunately, sometimes there are enough monsters to name and shame that we have a trifecta for Lord Chippy. Now, generally, I've been staying away from Lord Chippy, but holy fazoli's did we have some people that needed to be named and shamed and publicly, well, allegedly blamed until adjudicatedly found guilty. But y'all, buckle in, because if Lord Chippy would ever need Pepto-Bismol at the end of something, it's with these folks.
They're our skin, they steal our grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop Lord Chippy from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Chippy's coming and he don't play games.
Y'all, someone needs to get a super soaker full of holy water, because I used to joke with people that would say, it's Satan. Legitimately, at this point, I'm willing to believe Alex Jones. I mean, transdimensional demons seem to make more sense than whatever the hell her explanation for this crap is gonna be. Um, an incubator, I'm not gonna say the M word because no way, stabbed her son, who was 6 years old, to death, then set the home on fire, blocking his 5-year-old brother from escaping. Please say she didn't get it out of the fire. She's got a mugshot, allegedly in Minecraft. An incubator has been convicted of a useless piece of swamp donkey has been convicted, therefore adjudicated guilty, therefore human waste, of taking her 6-year-old son's life before setting her home on fire, leaving her younger son to pass away in the blaze, unfortunately. Now, Jennifer Marie Stately, 37, was convicted just 2.5 weeks into her trial on February 26th over the March 15th, 2024. So this trial has actually gone quite quickly for this to have happened in 2024 and to have gotten adjudicated in 2026. So in the grand scheme of things, this justice went fairly quickly. And look, now, Mo doesn't pray often for this kind of thing, but dear tiny baby Jesus, if allegedly in Minecraft, Gen Pop justice were to come to this woman, if the general population were to find out of her crimes, I would like her to experience everything that her children did allegedly in Minecraft. Amen. I'm not saying that one should start fundraisers or a honey bun fund for, futuristically, to use Sarah Boone, Gen Pop justice, but should Gen Pop justice happen to arrive to this woman, let me see. Yep, my dams will still be gone as to whether I give one. Now, she fatally stabbed Remy before using lighter fluid and gasoline to set 3 blazes around her home in Minnesota, including at the exits, making it impossible for her younger son, Tristan, to escape. Now, Stately felt that the home had been demonized. According to her defense lawyer, Paul Ing, Him telling local news. Now, Tristan unfortunately passed away from smoke inhalation, and authorities described his mother's actions as, quote, horrific and unthinkable. Not only are these two little boys victims, but imagine those first responders who risk their lives, who go into fire, who find these two little children and know there's nothing they can do. That's not something you can just turn off at the end of the day. They don't go home and forget that. They remember every child that they couldn't save. That doesn't go just for the firefighters, that's the EMS, that's the, emergency room doctors. This woman not only, took 2 lives, but left a wave of destruction. It is just grotesque. Now, Rick Evnick, an FBI special agent in charge, said that the 2 boys had no chance at survival while in the care of their mother, the one person who should have kept them safe. Stately left Tristan, described by the family in an obituary as an outgoing and spirited little boy, to pass away as she fled with her, I guess, third son, 3-year-old Ethan. Now, prosecutors said that Ethan was covered in evidence that he had been abused and neglected prior to his fatal injuries. Lord Chippy, when I am president. Now, an Amber Alert was issued but canceled after a motorist had spotted her around 150 miles south of her home. Now, she initially faced charges of child neglect, malicious punishment, torture, and assault, but those charges were dropped in April 2024 as the Red Lake Reservation is outside the state court jurisdiction. Now, she was then indicted for murder and arson on May 6, 2024. Now, during her trial, Stately's lawyers tried to present an insanity defense, an argument which was rejected by the jury. She was found guilty on 5 first-degree murder charges and 1 count of arson. Law enforcement has welcomed her conviction. We all witnessed the devastating aftermath of Jennifer Stately's horrific and unthinkable actions that night, Drew Evans, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension superintendent, said. We hope that by holding her accountable for her crimes, it will provide some sense of justice for the family and the entire Red Lake community who are forever impacted by the loss of these 2 young boys. Now, in Minnesota, first-degree murder carries a life sentence in prison. Now, she has yet to be sentenced, but by statute, she will probably be getting 5, either concurrent or consecutive, depending on how the statute is written and what the judge feels after the sentencing, victim impact statements. Now, if I was the judge, it'd be consecutive on Snake Island, but I am not a judge. Do not make me a judge. I would go full Vader. Look, I know I should not be anywhere near power. I would go full Vader. I use logic, and then look, when I agreed with Anakin, when Padme and him, look, this was probably some of the worst dialogue, but Anakin actually made sense. Padme didn't. When Anakin's like, well, I'd force them to agree. And Padme's like, Congress doesn't work that way. And he's like, it does with a lightsaber. And I agree with Anakin at that point. Like, if Congress is useless at some point, might wins, which is why I should never be near power. Our second, degenerate piece of human dumpster trash, allegedly, a pervy mayor. Her kids told cops that they caught her, having a big old party with a teen boy, a pool party, as you do as a mayor. What is up with these creepy millennial chicks being pervs? Like seriously. Now, I jokingly call myself a genlennial because I think millennials are generally cringy. I don't associate with that behavior, so I don't an entitlement and like the inability to grow up. So I legitimately call myself a genlennial because I feel like I'm more Gen Xer in my soul. That being said, has anyone studied the correlation slash rampant increase? I mean, has this always been the case that female teachers have been predators and we're just now catching it, so it seems like a sharp increase? Or is there a direct correlation with the self-indulgence and the inability to be, adult of millennials that keeps certain segments of the female population of teachers, you know, persisting in this perpetual teenageness of dating the popular boy in high school? I just Someone explain it to me, make it make sense, because I can understand if we turned a blind eye to it because it was women, and for a long time, women had female privilege. But I could also see that millennials are stuck in a perpetual, like, kidult stage, so it could be both.
I wonder where these women were when I was that age.
You are ridiculous. They were dressed like your mom.
Could be true.
It was the '80s, did you?
There were no hot teachers that
Yeah.
time. Except the French teacher.
Go away. The children of a disgraced Louisiana mayor told cops that they both caught their mother fooling around with a 16-year-old boy at a boozy pool party, according to a video played at her assault trial. Now, Misty Roberts, the 34-year-old former head of DeRidder, Louisiana, a population of about 9,800, I'm guessing not 9,000, 8,000, faces charges of third-degree SA over the 2024 incident. Now, Robert's son told investigators at an interview played for jurors that he saw his mom having, well, relations with his pal through a crack in the window. That poor boy. I mean, I can't imagine. Ugh.
You're definitely not a man.
Yeah, not a man, but I'm thinking of the boy who's gonna have to deal with his mom being a whore. Like, "Oh, is your mom the town bicycle?" "Yes, she is. Have a ride. Sell her for 50 cents." I mean, it uh, but when asked about his recollection, he demurred, telling court he wasn't exactly sure what he saw that night. Now, the jury also reviewed pictures and photographs from the party, which show children holding drinks, as well as a photograph of Roberts and the victim that prosecutors described as lewd. Now, that picture showed Roberts at the party in her bikini with the boy victim looking at her and smiling. Now, Robert's son texted his mom that night, incredulous about what was happening, and told her that his sister was crying, according to messages presented by the state. He's 17, her son texted her. Now, the boy was later confirmed to be 16. Gross. Also, those are some Manson effing lamps. Who the hell voted for this lady? Like, she looks dead in the eyes. Did she look dead in the eyes the entire time? I You know that part in, oh gosh, They Live, where he looks at everyone with the sunglasses? Why do I feel Has anyone ever felt like they were born with the They Live sunglasses on and they could all see the lizard people, but everyone else just couldn't? And it's not that you're, weird or abnormal, you just simply see the truth and no one else does. I did try to say that to my therapist once when I was 9, and, I don't think it was delusions of grandeur, I think I was just pointing out reality. He said that that's a weird thing for a 9-year-old to think about, and I said, "Yes, but seems relevant when I'm the one in therapy." As I said, my mom did not have an easy time with me, but again, who saw these eyeballs, these Manson lamps, these dead soulless orbs and thought, "You know what? She's great for politics." No idea. Now, Robert's daughter also took the stand while prosecutors played her interview with detectives, in which she said she saw her mother and the boy on top of each other that night. Now, the former mayor's nephew also admitted that he tried to sneak a peek. What in the hillbilly? Nope. Nope. I don't care how hot your aunt is. Try not to get naked pictures of her when she's stooping a 16-year-old. Like, that is 27 layers of ick. Like, what in the hillbilly, like, 50 Shades of ugh? No, no. I didn't think I'd ever need to say this, um, but I don't care how hot your aunt is, maybe don't try to sneak nude pictures of her. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you do need to hear this, you probably need more help than from, like, a redhead on the internet, so Godspeed. Now, none of the 3 witnesses who testified said they saw the, well, bait and tackle of either Roberts or the victims, but the teen boy they noted was shirtless. Now, after the alleged tryst, the victim's mother texted Roberts to ensure that she was not pregnant, to which she replied she was on birth control. What? No, we do not just call to make sure you're not knocked up. We call to make sure she understands that the police are on their way. We call her to let her know she better surrender to the police or she'll be surrendering to her Lord Jesus, allegedly in Minecraft, at the end of the night after she's confessed all her sins to you and her savior. No, we do not ask if the harlot of the town is pregnant. We task her whether she would like to choose the easy way or the hard way to be taken to the police station. Allegedly in Minecraft, of course. This channel offers no advice, legally or life-wise. Now, Robert shared a screenshot of that message to a group chat with her friends who urged her to take Plan B. Again, what the actual F? And no one said, wait a minute, let me get this. Let me just stop you real quick, sweetheart. Let me make sure I got this completely correct. You are telling me in a group chat that you seduced a 16-year-old, proceeded to not use protection, and now you want me to give you life advice that isn't "God help you and don't drop the soap. Bon voyage, bitch burrito. I hope that, you don't tell no one what you did." Someone was like, "Oh, you assaulted a minor. Have you thought about birth control?" Do what now? Listen, what county, what state is this? Because 'Cause Imma need DeRidder, Louisiana to come to the front of the congregation. I don't care if you come as a group or send a spokesperson, but Imma need you to explain-orate yourself because none of this is making flippin' flapjack sense for anything. So Imma need all you'ans to come and explain yourself. Now, Imma give you time. I'm not gonna make fun of you as such, but there are some things we need to clarify, such as when you have a soulless Manson lamp person, why did you vote for her? And then why, when you found out that she was canoodling with a 16-year-old, your first response was get birth control, not again tell her we can do this the easy way or the hard way, sweetheart. We can either take you to, the jail after we find you, or you can turn yourself in. As I said, do not know. The rage is here. I don't know, like, maybe we need a Puxatani Phil for, like, when my rage comes. Like, if Puxatani is scared of me when I go to see him, it's 5 more weeks of rage. I don't know, because honestly, except for being in a crap ton of pain, I'm not angry. I'm just more irritated with stupidity than I usually am. I have less of a tolerance for idiocracy than I normally do. Now, a DoorDash driver testified that he delivered the emergency contraceptive to Robert's house and he recognized her from trick or treating with his children there. In other texts shown in court, Roberts asked her son what kind of alcohol her son and the other kids would like for the party. Days after the police launched their investigation into the alleged crime, Roberts resigned as mayor of DeRidder, a city just under 10,000 people, about 20 miles east of the Texas border. Now, she was charged with third-degree SA and contributing to the delinquency of juveniles. Ordered by DoorDash. Like, what? Why? What? Just no. I I have no words. Just I there and then I didn't know that this was another story that was going to be big, and again, I actually do not have any hot take on this one other than my general caution, as ever, that with these bigger, stories, with these bigger mass incidents, the first 24 and even 48 hours, treat each and every one of these stories with a grain of salt because they're likely to change. Austin mass shooter, some name, y'all, I got nothing. And I am not gonna be, you know, if I ever am allowed to go to the EU, if I attempt to pronounce this name, I'm not gonna get into any of the countries ever. Now, allegedly, this person did enter the US during the Clinton administration and became a citizen under the Obama administration despite a string of criminal contact with authorities. Now, the New York Post, I will let you guys know, is more of a conservative, outlet, so they're going to have maybe a more political outlook on this. I'm just going to be giving you guys the facts. I encourage you to go to both sides of the political divide to read stories about this, or to creators, that you trust with this sort of content, but I'll give you kind of the info, and for the political hot takes, you guys have places you trust. I don't tell you what to think, I just ask that you do think. Now, Singhalese National, again, something at the name, 53, did arrive in America on March 13th, 2000 on a B-2 tourist visa. Now, that's according to a source familiar with his immigration history. So again, with these stories, with these anonymous sources, take everything with a grain of salt. Obviously, the New York Post has a bit of a political lean here, and they want this to be political. Now, sadly and horrifyingly, and for the love of Cheetos, rant incoming. Maybe possibly within my lifetime, maybe this year as a Christmas miracle, as a Lenten miracle, a pre-Easter miracle, could we possibly, and I know this is gonna be hard, I know it would require everyone to collectively pull their heads out of their asses and realize that maybe their political hot take isn't the most importantest thing, but if we could collectively as a human species, when one of these events happen, let the family mourn, let the bodies get cold, let people grieve, and then we can have whatever political rigmarole you wanna have. But how about we have human grace and dignity and maybe don't bring politics into something right away? Maybe we admit the tragedy that each one of these families and first responders having to deal with these things go through, and then we sit down and we 'cause, here's what if I were president, here's what I wouldn't allow. My first thing, unless you're willing to sit down in an open forum with people you disagree with to talk about topics and really come up with solutions, and I'm not talking about talking points, I'm not talking about sound bites, I'm not talking about, red meat to your side, whichever part of the politics. I am talking about sitting down and legitimately trying to come to solutions, making hard choices, having tough conversations, then I would like you to kindly sit the hell down and shut the hell up. End of. That goes for politicians, that goes for everyone. If you're unwilling to, do the hard work, work towards the future, go in assuming that, the people on the other side aren't morally bankrupt, then I don't wanna hear from you because you're not part of anything that's going to lead to a solution. You're just loud and annoying, and I don't wanna bother with you. And that goes for either side. So if you wanna take this situation and make it political, good for you. If it's red meat to your side, if it's red meat for whatever political stance you have on whatever, fine. But if you can't be human enough to just let people grieve, to treat it as a tragedy before you go using it to build your platform, then I don't respect you. And that goes for any politician on any side. Now, this particular person did take the life of 2 people and wounded 14 more during his rampage outside a Texas bar early on Sunday. Now, again, with my caveat I always give you, do be aware that these numbers may be subject to change. Just because of the very fluidity of bullet wounds and, the relative health of each individual victim might be different. So, unfortunately, these numbers may be subject to change. Now, according to, again, sources, but unnamed sources, he had racked up at least 1 arrest for illegal vending, uh, in New York City. Now, he then, had multiple arrests between 2008 and 2016, but that didn't seem to pause anything and as far as his citizenship. Now, he was arrested in Texas during some point on undisclosed charges, again from an unnamed source. Now, according to again unnamed sources, he was known to have mental health issues. Now, he opened fire outside of Buford's backyard beer garden near the University of Texas Austin campus early on Sunday, taking the life of 2 bar patrons and wounding 14 others before he was shot and his life was ended by police officers. Now, he was wearing a Property of Allah hoodie at the time of the mass incident and had a Quran in his car. Now, again, these have not been substantiated by a police press conference. These are unnamed sources familiar with the investigation. So, do be critical thinkers when you are reading these articles, because what they tout in the beginning as, these are in fact facts from unknown sources familiar with the investigation. So do be aware that until these are substantiated, until we get a report, that these are not set in stone, that a lot of things can change, and especially with as many people wounded as there were. Now, the FBI is investigating whether this was motivated by any sort of um, T word inspiration, especially with the launching of the Iranian kerfuffle for led by America and Israel. So it doesn't seem like, again, they've come up with any manifesto or anything, but a along that line, another rant incoming. "Hi, Ranty Mo here. It's a Monday. Don't know, don't care, just ranty. Hey, FBI, hi, howdy. Just a US citizen here. I was wondering, while you're releasing all those files, if you could just tell us what the flippin' flapjack went on in Las Vegas. The biggest, shooting of civilians in American history. Because, like, you never really told us what happened other than he was, like, totally by himself and had, like, an arsenal of everything. So, like, could it be possible while you're digging in your filey files for, ET and Epstein, if you could dig out, like, the Vegas stuff? Because, maybe one day I'd like to go to a concert, but I'd like to know what the hell set off, Cletus at the top of the hotel. to decide whether I want to go to a concert ever again or whether I trust the government ever again to tell us what the hell went on. I mean, FBI, I know this is shocking and hard to understand, but you kind of have a track record of lying to us since, well, your kind of infamous head was cross-dressing. So in order to earn back trust of the American people just a scotch, could you possibly tell us what happened in Vegas? It's not like we'll forget, you know, it kind of was the biggest thing that happened to civilians on American soil. So if you could kindly just open the files, Cash Patel, while you're out there, protecting your girlfriend and like hanging out with the hockey players, if you could perhaps do a like little bit of your job, you epic. If you could kindly focus on the FBI and maybe transparency, that would be lovely. Mr. Mo is like, "Do you need chocolate?" I was like, Maybe I need chocolate today." All I can imagine is behind me, Palpatine, my grandpa, being like, "Let the rage flow. Tap into the dark side of the Force." Well, to end things off after I've fully ranted, we do have a final form Jesus. What in the flippin' flapjack? This is why the Anunnaki will not come back and give us advanced technology. We just wouldn't use it responsibly, and these headlines do prove it. So buckle in, you guys. At least these headlines will make you laugh and weep for humanity. But I choose to laugh because, well, either we laugh or we weep.
The key keep its grove, thou glowing shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, final form Jesus return in wrath. With six-pack glistening, sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
Why are we brining children? I'm just asking for a friend. A mom claims that salting her children boosts their immune system. You have I white women, stop. Look, stop. Okay, look, I generally don't resort to the whole, you know, what in the hell liberal white women, but seriously, y'all have to stop. Look, I have to constantly defend myself that I'm not one of you, that I don't have a Stanley Cup, that if I did, it had a curse word or Sailor Moon saying a curse word on it, that I don't know what Meghan Markle, is doing. Why? You make my existence a joke. I have to constantly prove to people that I have a functioning frontal cortex because y'all keep doing shit like this. And it gets tiresome because I rarely go to Target, but the one time I go to Target, I get looks from people that I'm salting my children. Good God. Stop making my life so hard. This granola mom is taking things to a whole freaking other level. In a head scratching social media video posted by Massachusetts Health Spa, Massachusetts. Do we need to get Stephen King on this? I mean this quite seriously. Was Massachusetts built on like a nexus for a dark tower? Is there a metaverse? Massachusetts, what the hell is wrong with you? Was there a Fukushima type event there that I was unaware of? Was there an ancient Indian burial ground? Is there a pet cemetery? Are you linked to Derry, Maine? What the hell, Massachusetts? Someone representative from Massachusetts, I welcome you on to the show to explain to the congregation in the Church of Mo, which is not really religious, more loose, a loose convention of inside cats. But still, I need you to explain yourself because none of this. Were you near a hellmouth? Does Buffy the Vampire Slayer need to be summoned? Is there, a dark crystal? Does Inuyasha need to be summoned? Like, seriously, do we need to get the Power Rangers and Zordon involved? Massachusetts, you are gonna give me a cringe tumor in my frontal cortex. I can't do this. Stop it. Well, in her video of her 5150 Baker Act evidence, she said, I salt my kiddos, and you should too, as she's seen tidying the room filled with salt with a leaf blower. Again, Massachusetts, what the fuck? What y'all, usually I don't curse on Mornings with Mo, but again, what the fuck? There are some times when the F word is absolutely fucking appropriate, and this would be fucking one of them. Okay. Halotherapy, a form of alternative medicine which makes use of salt, helps to clear like energy so the immune system can settle and respond when it needs to, and then rest when it doesn't. 1 second, guys. Where is her husband? Where is the patriarchy to stop this crap? Look, this is a job, like, this would be a conversation that Mr. Mo and I would have, and because he is the stabilizing force in our marriage, we don't have, like, half the things that I think about on oh, sorry. Half the things I think about at 3 AM. S Someone get her husband on the line. Now, technically, halotherapy lacks any scientific credibility, so it's no surprise that many in the comment section of the video thought it was some woo-woo approach to keeping people, including children, healthy. Anything but going to the doctor. What in the insanity is this kind of redonkulous? No, just all the no. Y'all, no. Limited clinical evidence of any, actual improvement from this. Also, nothing to do with having salt for sand. So I'll take this mom's health recommendation with a grain of salt. Can't even buy a house, and this itch has a salt room. How someone chooses to parent their child is, well, a personal choice. While some are assaulting their children, other are keeping their youngsters on a bizarre reverse schedule. What? One stay-at-home mom married to a district attorney who usually gets home from work on the late side, has her family eat together at 8 p.m. before beginning their nighttime routine, which often includes cleaning up, followed by an evening walk and bath time, which usually is a little after midnight. According to a viral video the mom posted with timestamps. They wake up just fine, usually around 10:30. I have to tell them to get up a few times, but once they're out of bed, they're perfect the rest of their day. Uh, oh, they homeschool. I mean, if you're willing to do the work and she's actually keeping up with standards and her kids are testing at or above level, then whatever works for their family works for their family. I really don't have the energy to police other people's families, nor do I care to have people police mine. So if it works for them, it works for them. Now, what I don't agree with is putting your family on the interwebs. There's a reason that you guys know youngest, most feral child's name, but I try not to use my other kiddos' names. I've just messed up with youngest most feral because he is feral. So don't salt your children, but if you want in my opinion, don't salt your children. I don't think there's any clinical basis to any of the benefits. But that being said, if you're not asking me for money or to clean up the salt, I say have at it. Salt, sandbox inside, just keep me out of cleaning it up. Well, in ancient Greek mystery cult princesses may have chemically tweaked funguses to induce psychedelic hallucinations. I mean, seems like something I would do in medieval time. Priestesses of a mysterious cult in ancient Greece and Rome may have used highly toxic fungus to create psychedelic hallucinations during their rituals, according to a new study. However, some experts say that though the study shows that it's plausible, there really isn't historic proof that this actually happened. It's more it's more like ballistics. It can be included in, and not excluded. So, interesting. Now, in a study published on February 13th in the Journal of Scientific Reports, laboratory experiments, make the ergot fungus non-toxic while so it does seem like they were experimenting with this fungus, or at least someone was at that time, to increase the, hallucinogenic effects, but decrease the toxicity. Now that idea, that the, so basically, there are some new ideas that maybe the mystery cult and all of the kind of rituals and historical documentation of this has been shaped possibly by this fungus being cultivated to be a hallucinogen, but concrete evidence of that is not clear. But sounds like the kind of cult I would have made. And, well, if you buy fun things for your dangly bits, you might have been hacked. A popular Smexy toy company admits that a hacker has stolen sensitive customer information. So very much like Austin Powers, uh, if you have a Swiss, phallic item, some hacker might know. Well, these Smexy toy shoppers are effed. X-rated accessory maker Tenga has informed customers earlier this month of a data breach that likely has included their names, email addresses, and past order details, according to TeleCrunch. An unauthorized party gained access to the professional email account of one of our employees, Tenga Store USA wrote in a memo. Well, that's comforting. Spokesperson for the Japanese company, which primarily carries toys designed for men, told TechCrunch that approximately 600 people in America were targeted. Alongside the customer's personal details and correspondence with the company, the cyber crook reportedly sent spam emails to the customers via the hacked employee email address and asked customers to be vigilant and ignore suspicious emails coming from that particular company contact. Uh, well, so there you go. If this, if anyone needed to hear that, there you go. Uh, well, you guys, I'm gonna uh wrap it up so I can send you guys over to Nick and then hang out with Nick to cover this morning, and then we will be hanging out this afternoon. So I thank you so much for hanging out this morning. It is the funnest thing. Sorry I was so ragey, but once in a while I am ragey. So there you go. It's a Monday and it's going to be cold rain all week. I'm a little irritated by you guys.